Hi, and welcome to Redesign for All. Thank you for joining me for my first video. On this channel, we will be exploring existing urban transportation spaces and how they can be redesigned to better accommodate all road users. A little about me to start. I have a background in transportation analysis, particularly around public transit. But lately, I've been finding myself getting more and more interested in active transportation such as cycling and walking, and how we can better design transportation systems to accommodate different types of road users. Like many that go down this rabbit hole, I have drawn much inspiration from Dutch road design and how they properly accommodate cyclists. I am based out of Toronto, and so many of the examples and areas discussed will focus on this area, but I'm happy to branch out if the opportunity comes up. So, to start this channel out, I will be looking at specific intersections, roads, or spaces and talk about how we might implement this type of Dutch-inspired design to these areas. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer, I'm not personally a traffic engineer or a design expert. What I will be showing will be high-level designs and will be far from perfect. I'm trying to have three goals with these designs. One is to show the types of things that are possible within our cities. With these designs, they might seem far off to us when we look at them, but I do believe we have the road space and all the tools to implement these kinds of designs if they're something we want for our cities. The second goal would be to foster discussion around how this type of infrastructure could be done. I am hoping for a lot of discussions around what could be done better or differently, and to be challenged on what I put forward so that we can learn together. The third goal is a bit of a selfish one. It's for me to learn more about designing for all through the discussions that the videos generate. So I really hope that you do find these videos interesting and that they inspire you to think about the potential our existing cities have. Alright, so I think the intersection that we'll start with for the first video is going to be Bloor Street West and St. George Street. So anybody who knows this kind of area knows that Bloor Street is becoming one of the most iconic cycling streets in Toronto. The main portion of Bloor Street was made into cycle paths a few years ago after much discussion, and then during COVID they were extended out as a pilot project, and now they've been made permanent with plans to extend them across the whole city. So this will be a street that will span the whole city longer than any other on-street cycle paths that I know of. And then St. George is part of the University of Toronto campus, so that it does get a decent amount of cycling performed on it due to the large number of students right now. And so I think it's a good case study. It's also a fairly simple junction because they both already have bike lanes. There's nothing unique or special about it. So I think it's a really good example to start out with, that we can show how this would work without getting too overly complicated. So I'm just going to explore the intersection a little bit using Google Maps, and you can see the Bloor Street running east-west. You can see they have cycle paths that are mainly just protected by a buffer zone on both sides, and then St. George Street has cycle paths that are not protected by anything, so just basically bike lanes. I'm going to zoom in and go to more of a street level view, and we can see how this would work. You can see the buffer there, but no physical separation or anything like that. Same with on all sides of Bloor Street, there is a buffer, but no real protection. And then on St. George, it's just the painted bike lane, nothing else protecting. So hopefully we can add some of that, as well as give some protection in the intersection. Alright, so here's the intersection that we'll be working with, and what we're going to do is pretty crude, but I think it'll give us the ideas we want. We're going to use a bit of a color coding, and they're going to be maybe a bit different if you're Dutch, but we're going to use green for cycling facilities, and that's because that's what Toronto uses, so I'm trying to be consistent. We'll use black for any vehicle specified areas, just the normal roads and stop lines and those kinds of things. And then I'll be using yellow for any pedestrian areas. So the first thing I'm going to do is just draw out a bit of the existing infrastructure that's here. So we'll draw, here's the curb. Like I said, this is not going to be perfect, so that's okay. Here we can't really see it, so I'm going to make a bit of a guess. Hopefully that's right. Actually, I might redraw that, so I'll put it here. That might be a little bit off, but that's okay. I think we're close enough for our purposes. So there we have the different curbs, and I think that's the most important thing to have because we can show where things will go. And then we have our cycle lanes, which comes out to here. All right, so we have our cycle lanes here. Now the first thing to do is the easiest way to do this, and we're gonna be really simple for our first video, is to just connect the cycle lanes using a consistent curb radius. So this will go here. The ones right here will continue around here. These will continue here. Just to make an additional radius for the bike lanes. All right. Now we can easily put some curbs to protect the cyclist. So here we can make one right here. Right. And what these will do is create protection against right turning vehicles. And so with this design, what we're going to end up doing is moving the stop line for cyclists back. And so they'll be about in the same location where the existing zebra crossing is for pedestrians. So this will become the new stop line to go north and south, or sorry, to go north for cyclists. So just as a quick example, I'll turn this to black. A cyclist wanting to go north would come this way, stop here, wait for the lights to change if needed, and then would continue on this way to go north. And so you can see how even an intersection like this, I mean, this is a pretty typical downtown Toronto intersection, has plenty of space for a design like this. So I'm just going to make a few crossings. Here for bikes. I'll fill these in so you can see. Right here. And then for pedestrians, because of this design, now all we have to do is move the pedestrian facilities back behind. So the zebra crossing for pedestrians would go back behind here. Right? And this is where pedestrians would cross. Right? And so it maintains everything. Now, the benefits of this design is that when a vehicle is coming to turn, there's two things. So a vehicle will be stopping here, and a bike would be stopping here. So one thing is that they have line of sight, right? So I can see very easily where the cyclists are before the intersection goes. Another is that if both these start at the same time, by the time this person makes this turn, this cyclist is likely gone. So any waiting cyclist will clear the intersection. And another part of it is that if they do end up interacting, so this person turns here, they have very easily visibility of the cyclist. So they're interacting at 90-degree angles. Now, there's different ways to do this, and again, I'm not 100% an expert, but I wanted to show this is a pretty typical intersection, and we have plenty of space for this. This is easy to be done. And so now we can have the exact same driving facilities that we do here. We can have our center line down here, and even if we want to maintain these turning lanes, we can do that. That's really easy. There's no problem with that, right? We can put our our stop lines. Stop lines just have to move back a bit, but we have the same basic facilities here. And then it might also be worthwhile to add some additional concrete barriers to add some additional protection. So we might want to do one here, add a little bit of an island here. And the benefit to that is when you have people turning, they will now have to turn around the island and make more of a 90-degree angle. So again, if we have someone turning left, they now have to go around this island, and it ensures that they're meeting this at a 90-degree angle, again, to help with visibility. So there's a lot of benefits to this that you can see. The other thing we might want to add, where we might want to add some curves, is again to where we have a buffer. So we might want to put a curve here, right, to act as additional protection coming up to the intersection. And then only have gaps where we really need them for crossing, right? So that's kind of how you have it. I think in future videos we'll be exploring maybe more complex intersections, and I'm happy to take feedback on maybe how I can do things differently. I'm working with a pretty simple setup, and so these things are very crude right now, but we'll see. Maybe in the future we'll add some more flash to it and maybe make them a little bit easier to understand. But anyways, I appreciate everyone watching and joining. Feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be coming out with more of these designs in the future, and I'll be looking to do more complex intersections and different features that have maybe things that are a little bit more complicated or hard to design for as we move forward. But I thought I would start simple. So yeah, please feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.